I think an incredible couple of weeks for English football, actually. Both the European ties and then the Championship playoffs. So really exciting matches and the start of trophies being handed out. And we're really looking forward to the opportunity to finish that summer off once everything's done. So a great opportunity for us to build on the last 12 months. In terms of the squad, a little bit larger than normal for obvious reasons. We've got a lot of unknowns. Callum Hudson-Odoi and Ruben Loftus-Cheek would definitely have been in this squad. So very unfortunate for both of them that they look like they've sustained injuries that may keep them out for some time, although we're waiting on full confirmation on Ruben. So happy to take any questions from now.
Yeah, before we throw it to the floor, just a reminder to use the microphone available and state your name and the organisation you work for.
Gareth, good to see you. It's Rob Dorset from Sky Sports News. Harry Kane is in this squad. I don't think anybody's too surprised to see you call him up. But what have Spurs told you about his fitness and what sort of game time he might be able to play for you?
Well, that is one of the unknowns, really. He's obviously working towards being fit for them for their final. And we've got to see how that progresses, really. So clearly, he's a player we would want to give every opportunity to. His goal scoring record for us is phenomenally high and captain of the team. So we're keeping that door open and we'll have to see how things progress.
7.5 weeks out it'll be for him before the Champions League final. He then potentially could have 3 games in, I think, 9 days. Might you save him from the semi-final and use him in the final? Are you going to have to use him sparingly?
Well, we're going to have to look at post the Champions League final. We're going to have to assess everybody, really, because there's the physical aspect of that game and then the emotional fallout from that game. It's a huge match. So what we've got to do is prepare everybody ready to play. I don't think we've ever had a camp where we haven't had a lot of pullouts. It's a strange situation for us. But we've always adapted and we've always managed to achieve results with new players, with young players. So this looks like being the same. It's going to be a lot of uncertainty around who is going to be entirely available until the last minute. But we've got a really strong squad, a squad with a lot of talent, and we're looking forward to these matches.
Nathan Redmond was perhaps the only name, I think, in your list that maybe raised a couple of eyebrows. Of course, you know him so well from all of his time with the under-21s. What was your thinking in bringing him in?
Well, I think he's finished the season really well with Southampton. I think since the change of manager, I've liked the way the team have played. I think he's playing in a style that is similar to what we ask of our forward players. A lot of pace, presses well, has started to score more regularly. So I think he had a difficult season last year, but I think this season has been much better and he's finished it really strongly. And with a couple of others missing out and a couple of others we're waiting on, then it's a really good opportunity for Nathan.
Yeah, I know how difficult it is for you logistically, but Harry Winks only had groin surgery about 3 weeks ago. How fit is he? Or is he another one that you're going to have to wait and see on?
Yeah, again, I think for the likes of Harry Winks, he deserves the right to be named in this initial squad, and then we'll have to go from there, really. I think Tottenham are optimistic he'll be available for their game. But it's very much a case of he's not played for a couple of months now, and we're just going to have to follow that progress. But we've got similar situations with Fabian Delph. John Stones hasn't played as much. Joe Gomez hasn't played as much. But we believe this is our strongest squad, and so we wanted those players involved in it.
You had some pretty strong words for Jesse Lingard during the last squad when he pulled out through injury and then played for Manchester United at that weekend. Has he had to win your trust back a little bit now that you've named him back in the squad?
I don't remember making any strong comments about Jesse, but I don't
think it was specifically Jesse, but I think you said you were asked about whether players pulling out of England squads from injuries and then playing for their clubs at the following weekend, how disappointing that can be.
Yeah, but often that's injuries can be 7 to 10 days. We knew that Jesse had played the previous game and he wasn't happy with the hamstring, so I think at some point across the few years I've been involved, every player at some point or other has pretty much had a situation like that. So If that becomes a consistent thing, then that's more of a concern. But Jesse has played well for us in the past. I think he'd be the first to say he's had a difficult end to the season, and he's got an opportunity now to put that behind him and really attack this period with us and finish the season on a high.
Luke Shaw isn't in your squad. He was Manchester United's Player of the Season. Was that a difficult decision to leave him out?
No, I think Ben Chilwell and Danny Rose have been excellent. So at the moment they're ahead, and they've played particularly well for us. They've been completely committed to the England shirt and really given everything for the England shirt over the last period of time. And they're two very good players. So there's high competition for places in lots of positions, but that one in particular is we're blessed with really good options.
Totally understand your pride as an Englishman that it's 2 all-English European finals that we've got coming up, but logistically, how difficult for you to prepare and plan? Is this the hardest preparation you've ever had?
Well, we had 8 pull out in March, so I don't know if it's the hardest. It's complicated, of course, and would you choose it? Not particularly, but it's a brilliant. For the long term for England, it's brilliant because Henderson and Trent, as an example, this is their second Champions League final in 2 years. For Joe and all of the Tottenham players, the opportunity to be involved in the biggest game in club football. So that's on the back of them being involved in a World Cup semi-final last year. So all of these experiences, the Manchester City boys going through the title run-in twice, they're exactly what this team up to this point hasn't had, and it's part of their individual learning and will help us as a team.
You've got to name your final 23-man squad for UEFA and put that in 5 days before the Champions League final. How's that going to work?
Yeah, I don't know yet, really. We will find out more about a couple of players in that period, and then I'm going to have to make a couple of decisions. But we can change if we have injuries after that date, and frankly, there's every chance that is going to happen. So we've got to just make the best possible decisions, really, with the information that we have. And it's constantly moving. I went to bed last night, Ruben's in the squad and playing brilliantly, and as I say, huge disappointment for him. He misses now a major European final and a brilliant opportunity with us. And in particular, he's really come on in the last few months and has looked strong and playing with a lot of confidence. So I'm really disappointed for him in particular. Above
and beyond all the physical fitness of your squad, which is clearly going to be a concern for you, emotionally, it's going to be quite draining for those players, 9 of whom are going to be in the Champions League final or involved in some part. Half of them are going to be elated and exhausted because they've won the Champions League. Half of them are going to be dejected and exhausted. How do you deal with the emotional difference that your squad's going to have when it comes to the game? Yeah,
it's going to be a fascinating challenge. Not unique in that we had it last year with the Liverpool players, but the turnaround is obviously far quicker. Realistically, we won't get those guys on the training pitch until Tuesday before the game on Thursday. So it's clear that isn't an easy situation. But I go back to the fact that we've got excellent squad, excellent competition for places. And we've always had to adapt. That's part of what you've got to do. In international football, for any manager, there's a lot of things that are out of your control. And in international football, that's even more. So you've just got to make sure that the decisions that we make as a staff and the contingency plans that we have are the right ones. And, I know the players will be particularly excited about this opportunity to be 2 games away from winning a trophy against top opposition right throughout this competition would be another significant step for us.
Last one from me. You're always very diplomatic when we talk to you about football governance and that sort of thing, but these are both competitions that are organised by UEFA, the Champions League final and their showpiece inaugural Nations League. And the semi-final and the final of the Champions League are 5 days apart. Is that badly handled? Is that disappointing from your perspective?
No, from our perspective, we just have to deal with it. I guess maybe people didn't think about the possibility of one nation having so many players involved in that final. But that's the situation we've got, and as I say, they're both going to be brilliant occasions to be a part of, and for our players, they're exactly the sorts of games we want them in.
Hi Gareth, Ian Dennis from the BBC. Just following on Rob's point there, do you think in the future UEFA might learn from this and maybe look at it a little bit more differently next time to have a showpiece final and then a new tournament in its embryonic stages just a matter of days later?
Yeah, I don't know all the complexities of putting the calendar together. So obviously some of the European qualifiers are later, a few days later than our matches. But I'm glad we've got big matches to look forward to rather than qualifiers this summer. You know, I think that would have been even more challenging to get the squad together, and you know, we've got something really exciting to look forward to.
And you said it's been an incredible last 2 weeks for English football. You think back over the last 12 months from an international point of view as well. How would you reflect on the last year, and what does it say as far as you're concerned about the state of the English game?
Well, I think, you know, I feel we've improved as a team. I think you've always got to answer questions. We came out of the World Cup on a real high, but we're also with some questions to answer, and we've answered some of those questions, and some of the other questions we've still got to go on and achieve. So we've managed to bring the age of the squad down even further. So we've blooded some exciting young players in that period. And now we're in a second semi-final in consecutive summers, which is something for everybody to look forward to. And, you know, I'm excited for our fans. You know, we want to keep that connection that has grown over the last year. I mean, Andy was telling me we're nearly sold out for September. So it kind of tells us the appeal of the team at the moment and the connection back with the public, which 12 months ago wasn't there. And we want that to continue.
Of the 27-man squad, 9 of them are going to be competing potentially in the Champions League final. When you were watching the 2 games, Liverpool obviously on the Tuesday and Tottenham on the Wednesday, what was your thought process when you realised that both were going to go through to the final?
Well, I didn't expect for Liverpool to do it. You know, I mean, Anfield on those sorts of nights is an incredible place. So once they'd scored the first goal, I thought that had a real chance. But I didn't travel there thinking that they would win that game. But in the back of our minds, we've always had that feeling. You know, we thought Tottenham would get through, and we thought Chelsea would get through. So we were already planning for there to be disjointed meetups. And if it hadn't been us, the Dutch would have had the same problem with Ajax. So that's the way the competition planned out. It's been incredible competition this year, having been in Paris when United won against all the odds as well, having been at one of the Manchester City Tottenham ties as well. There's been so many unexpected outcomes and narratives to the games that have been thrilling.
And finally from me, could there be a knock-on effect, particularly from the Ajax-Tottenham game, from an international point of view, do you think, in terms of the mentality, both positive and negative?
No, I think every game is individual in its own right, and we would have to play extremely well. I think what we saw across those 2 legs is the talent in that Dutch team. Couple that with the players we know at Liverpool who've been such a big part of their success. So they really have re-emerged over the last year, and that's a really good test for us.
Gareth, Gary Brown, beIN Sport. I was going to ask you exactly that, your assessment of that Ajax team, the quality that they have now in that national side, and wouldn't you just want to be able to have that many domestic players playing in one side at the top level here in England?
Well, we might have that with Spurs in terms of numbers, because Ajax have some good young Dutch players, but they also have some good players from other countries in their setup. Theirs is a unique model, really. They know where they are as a club. They develop players and they sell them on. And every so often they have outstanding teams that go on and do really well in European football as well. So it's phenomenal the way they develop players. And I love the mentality of the club and the ethos that they stand for. So, but from our point of view, yeah, we do still face this issue of number of English players. I mean, we've just finished the season now. I talked about it at the very start, and it's kind of played out as I thought, really. We've finished the season with 30% of the league eligible for us. So that is a continuing graph, and I could sit and say nothing about it because it's not going to affect me while I'm the England manager too much, or beyond where it is now. But I worry about subsequent England managers and how it will affect them. So I have to take a view for the greater good, in that we still have to keep looking at this, and we still have to keep developing the right players, but finding solutions for them to break into the first teams, because where does that graph stop? That would be the concern.
How useful a scouting mission was that, though? Those two matches between Tottenham, so many of your players, and that style against Ajax with this great quality that's now coming through.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we were always watching the games of our opponents, but to be able to see some of their key players so closely was very helpful. And you can see why they are linked with such big moves, and one of them is moving on. But also we have some very exciting players who are also coveted by some of Europe's biggest clubs, and we must never forget that. We've got players that we're excited about and that we love working with. We now go into these sorts of games feeling that we're a match for any team that we play, and we don't go in with any arrogance, but we know that we can give everybody in the world a game.
You've talked a lot about players using their own thought, competing under pressure, thinking under pressure. How impressed were you with that corner from Trent Alexander-Arnold as the individual he is, but also the progress so many players are making, England players are making in this game? Yeah,
it was an incredible moment, really, in such a frenzied atmosphere and such a highly charged game, to have the presence of mind and the speed of thought and the quality of delivery to do what he did. And again, that's why we want our players in those environments, because that's what links closely as anything to the big matches that we've been in recently and that we will go into in the future. So the more of those experiences, the better.
Also, two extremes, got the Football Writers Player of the Year in Raheem Sterling and the Player of the Year in Virgil van Dijk, both becoming head-to-head against each other after very testing seasons. Can you tell us how impressed you've been with both of their campaigns this season?
Yeah, I think, Raheem I've spoken a lot about. I couldn't speak highly enough about how he's taken on the challenge that he has in his own team to get in the team. If you do that, that's an achievement in itself, frankly. His performances have been consistently outstanding, regularly scoring goals, regularly affecting big matches, scoring important goals in matches that have got them over the line. And with us, real breakthrough in Spain with his goals in Spain that seemed to lift so much from his shoulders, and back that up so positively in March with his performances and his goals then. So, but I know he'll want the next trophy. I know his mindset is there's two that are done. He's got another one this Saturday, another big game for some of our players. And then there's an opportunity for a final trophy of the season with us, and that's the great thing that winning breeds. You have the desire to go and do it again, or most people do, and definitely the top ones do, and he's definitely in that bracket.
Virgil van Dijk.
Yeah, we've got to find a way around him, haven't we? I remember watching him at Celtic. I was amazed that he didn't move straight to one of the big clubs in England, because I thought he was an outstanding player as soon as I saw him. Has great composure. He's a giant in their defence for Liverpool. So he has had a huge impact on what's been a brilliant season for them, as of others. He's a player that we have to be and are well aware of.
When you came in to this job, you said the one thing that concerned you, that you wanted to break down, was this sort of cliques between clubs. How nice was it to hear then from Raheem Sterling, ahead of a vital weekend that would decide the Premier League, that he'd was excited for his England teammates in that Liverpool side that they'd done so well in the Champions League, and that he'd sent a message to Trent Alexander-Arnold to congratulate him. That
was brilliant. I'm not sure that's going to exist between Spurs and Liverpool over the next couple of weeks, but that I think is going to be a challenge for us, because they are a close group. They are a group of players that get on brilliantly. But what's clear is that these clubs now are going to clash in big matches, and we've got to make sure that we handle that well as a group, and we make sure that we always bring them back to when we're with England, we talk about the things that make the difference. We've done that really well, and they've got to always park that rivalry and that intense rivalry that's going to grow, and make sure that we keep what's made us powerful over the last period of time as an England team.
Okay, give one more before we finish with Dan from ITV.
It is Mental Health Awareness Week this week. We've already heard from Prince William yesterday, and we've heard a lot from Danny Rose since the unfortunate scenes in Montenegro and the racism targeted at the players. How proud are you of the way Danny Rose is speaking out for many, and how are the team coping with that, coming back into this environment again? Are you aware of that after the way they all left the England camp?
Yeah, we're very conscious of it. I mean, I've spent a fair bit of time speaking with Raheem, Danny, Callum in particular after that, and we went through a long process with all of our staff, and we'll pick that up with the players again, because I think we all went through something that is important that we discuss. My priority over that period was the well-being of my players, and I hope, and I feel from what they've told me that they feel well supported, and that in terms of the care, they know where we stand, and they know that we're there for them. So Danny has also spoken brilliantly about the mental health aspect, and obviously we launched that charity partnership with the Duke of Cambridge yesterday. So I think that's also an important topic, not just in football but across society really, and hopefully that there will be a lot of people sitting at home thinking it's just them, and it isn't just them, and it affects a huge percentage of the population, I would say.
Gareth, Dan from ITV. Gareth, just to settle the debate, which was the better comeback, Liverpool or Spurs?
I don't think it matters really. I think they were different in the tactical approaches. They were different in the way that Liverpool had to be perfect for the full 90 minutes really to achieve what they did. But both were commendable in their own ways, and brilliant achievements by the two managers to get to have had the season that Liverpool have had, League and Cup, when I did hear some people say they should get knocked out of the Champions League. So, and I remember Jurgen saying, "Why would we do that?" And that's come to pass for him, and Maurizio as well. With all of the challenges they've had as a club and moving stadium, that's probably, in the end, they probably got the move just at the right time to get the energy that provided, in particular for that game with Manchester City. So, brilliant achievement by both of them, and we wish them both well. You can't, I can sit on the fence royally, but it will be a fantastic game to be watching.
And finally, on a more serious note, the news today that a ban for Manchester City potentially in the Champions League moves a little bit closer. How concerning is that for you and your English players involved with Manchester City?
Well, I don't know enough about the case really, I guess there's obviously an investigation going on, and I don't know what the ramifications of that will be. We'll just have to see as that progresses.
Okay.
But financial fair play, you feel is it a benefit for English football or not? What are your views on that?
Well, I think my role doesn't really encompass that. clubs have obviously got to follow the guidelines. I don't know how clear those guidelines are, in fairness, because there seems to be lots of different ways of achieving those aims. So, my job's complicated enough without trying to solve other people's problems.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now head on through to the Daily Writers Briefing.